You'll get like a permission. Okay. All right. So now we're getting ready to go live. Oops. Page. Okay. Okay. So we are going live and we will see it up here. Yep. All right, everybody. So welcome to Traumaplicity Talk Show that happens every Wednesday at 7 p.m. My name is Dr. Amanda Helman, author and speaker, and you may have seen that I have a hair change. Got a hair coloring change today, so it's blonde. So thank you, Isaiah Landis. Shout out to you. So I'm so excited. So Traumaplicity is trauma plus simplicity. And what does that mean? Well, when we think of trauma, we sometimes think it's complex, and it is. But when our brain does well with simple. We do well with simple. And so it's simple steps in the healing journey that all of us are on as human beings. And we all have different stories and different experiences. And what we overcome can help other people have tips and encouragement to continue to do the same. And so with that said, I have Joy Newsmaker here with me, and it's so nice to have her. And I've known Joy for, I'm trying to think, maybe 4 or 5 years through ministry, and I've been able to just hear her parts of her story before, also her heart, the joy she brings, her creativity, and her love of children, her love of writing and reading, and just everything she brings, even dancing and waving, different types of flags and dance and worship. And so, Joy, you can share more about you, but I really am so honored to have you here today.
Hi, I'm Joy, and I love Amanda. So what do I do is probably my least favorite question, but my summation is that I'm a creative communicator of the heart in many expressions, because everything I do is based on the heart, and it's authentic, and it's me. So yes, I am an artist, but I'm more than what you consider a traditional artist. I just am an expresser of heart.
I love that, expresser of the heart. Yes, and I think that sums it up for you, Joy, although there's so much to that. So thank you for sharing that. And so today, Joy, I brought you on just to share part of your experience in your journey. So if whatever comes to heart or mind for you, the audience would love to hear it, as well as myself.
Sure. So I was asked in advance what topics I would be covering, as into what kind of trauma I'd be covering. And I was very uncomfortable with that. And I want to explain it. So to me, and I don't have professional credentials, which is why I was hesitant to do this for a while, because I respect Amanda. But to me, trauma is a response to an event or a situation where I perceive the absence of love or God or good. So to me, trauma is more about what is missing. My response is that I feel like something that was good or God or love was missing from the experience, and that I encode it. My perception is encoded in me as a response. The reason I was hesitant to talk about what kind of trauma I've experienced is because I don't check all the boxes. So for many years, I didn't consider myself someone who could speak to trauma at all, or needed treatment or help for trauma, because I didn't have the big boxes, unlike some people who were very close to me. So I wasn't a war veteran, unlike my father and brother. I wasn't a diagnosed sufferer of mental illness. I wasn't I didn't have incredible abuse. I didn't have all these things, but I was incredibly emotionally sensitive and perceptive, and deeply cared about people, especially those who were wounded and who had experienced trauma, and those who were suffering. So some of what I encoded in me was because of actually, people would say today, I didn't have this term when I was just called too sensitive, but people today would probably call it, I was very empathetic. I felt people, and I more than felt them, I wanted to heal them. I wanted to take care of them. And I thought my job was to carry what I felt,
Mm.
you know, when I felt their wounds in their heart. So what did that look like for me? How did I eventually start to figure out that trauma was was encoded in my body? Um, Obviously, I didn't know any different because you only know who you are. So for many years, I would have said I had no reason, but a tip off that that was not true was I definitely was incredibly moody and depressed on the depressed side. I was a woman very acquainted with shame and guilt and grief. In fact, I didn't know what life was like without them. I was deeply afraid of being alone, even though I'm an introvert, because I knew like the voices in my head were very loud and constant. Um, so I like anything that could distract me from the voices in me was a gift. And I didn't trust myself being by myself. Um, I was always trying to have a fleeting feeling of control because I never felt like I had control or
Mm.
choice. Um, and I told my husband when I married him that I was an addict and I always would be, but I was trying to be addicted to more healthy things. So for me, that started as a teen, especially with food, and have a whole history there. I was an incredibly high achiever,
Mm.
especially academically, because I could do it, even though I felt very stupid because I never thought about it or did it the way other people did. I could read teachers well, so I performed well.
Mm.
Um, and exercise. So like that was to stop the mind, etc. So it wasn't just a normal healthy thing. It was to the point of I felt like I couldn't survive unless I had these things.
Okay.
Um, so
Yeah.
that's
That's a lot of what your story was. Well, and I know you might have some more to share. I love. First of all, I just want to say thank you, and it's interesting because you know we all are qualified to share our story. Like when you're like at first, like oh my goodness, and we all are qualified to share our story, and the whether it be and sometimes in the mental health world they're like little t or big T trauma, but trauma or experiences or pain that we have as humans all matter, and it does impact us, and there is healing as you had mentioned, but there are things that happen in our lives. And I think what it comes down to, and that's why I love having this show, is so many people are like, that was me too. A lot of what you share is things that I can say, yeah, that was something that's me too. And I think that's what makes it bold. And it also encourages myself as well as others because your story impacts people. And so I want to first thank you for sharing that, and also realizing, okay, like this is what I was thinking. And to help me have some peace, you were talking about, okay, I did exercise, but people thought, okay, I'm doing all this stuff, but it was actually to help me figure out how can I have more peace? How can I do this? And even the high achievement, right? Like I could read my teachers, as you mentioned, or I could read people. And so this is what I thought, like to perform to get that attention, and so that maybe perhaps kind of shift what might be going on internally, because a lot of times many of us as humans may have these eternal struggles, whether it be you know I don't know, I don't always like to say like continuum, but there can be, right, where sometimes in our life it might be more pressing depending on what's going on, and other times it might be not as pressing, like in terms of like how much we're having that internal struggle. So thank you for sharing. And I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to touch on in there. I know that you really were thinking and considering what you wanted to talk about, so I didn't want to stop you. I just also figured I'd, really say I appreciated what you were sharing so far. And if you wanted to add to that, we can.
Sure. I'm gonna just list some thoughts that
Mhm.
I've come to say, no, I wasn't always consciously aware, but this is who I thought I was. So I am not cared for or loved as I am.
Mhm.
I am not safe. I need to protect myself. I cannot trust. I need to armor myself
Mhm.
and the ones I love. Wow. I'm
Mhm.
not allowed to ask for help. Asking for help is failure. I'm not allowed to need, be weak, or have need. It is better to give and never need, never receive, would have been my quote. I am too much. I'm
Mhm.
too intense. I'm too sensitive. I'm too anything. Fill it in. I'm not worthy of love in every area. I'm a problem, an unsolvable problem. I am
Mhm.
a burden. I have no control. I'm out of control. In fact, one of my favorite songs that I made my husband listen to when we were dating was She's a Maniac from Flashdance, because I could relate to it.
Mhm.
I am crazy. I'm an outsider. I do not fit or belong anywhere. I'm afraid if I really start to feel and open up and feel the depth of my grief, pain, and sadness, it's bottomless and it will never stop. I just need to survive. I'm responsible for everything and everyone because I can't trust anyone else to do anything. Um, so my whole life became about managing my emotions
Mhm.
because they were very intense. And my strategy was to perform and outthink and try to become incredibly spiritual from my perspective. That was the grid I was given as the tool. So I channeled a lot of it into my spirituality and my church because that's what I thought the strategy was. And I always thought the illusion of perfectionism, the illusion that like you can
Mhm.
reach some level where it's going to be better and where you feel like you really are worth something. But
Mhm.
I tried to survive really. I don't know that I would have said it, but I was really just trying to survive each day, but never really choosing to live because I
Mhm.
wasn't even sure why I was alive. And I often fantasized about ending my life, except that I was from a Christian background and I was afraid that that was the unforgivable sin and that I would actually that I would actually go to hell. And I didn't want to do that, even though there was part of me that's like, this life is so hard and
Mhm.
I'm so aware of pain that like I can't handle it anymore.
Mhm.
Um, but one thing that I'll say leading into the next part maybe is that like in spite of all of those things, when you're ready and you're open, the teachers come to you. So at very in spite of my not doing the right things and taking advantage of aggressively or assertively taking advantage of and seeking out some resources, they came to me at specific times where I needed them to just continue.
Mhm.
And that's still happening. So it's for me, it's not a once and done thing. I don't say I'm healed. I say that healing is a lifestyle and it's a process of living. It's not a destination.
Mhm.
So like that's another thing that like to me, if I can encourage anybody to like um hang in there because like it's the it's an illusion. It's an illusion that there's some amazing healed version of you that would do this so much better. You have value right where you're at, and you are
Mhm.
loved right where you're at. So for me, love coming into those places that I thought were absence is still an ongoing process. But my heart intention is to keep my heart open and authentic. And as things come up, that I am starting to train myself to believe that if for me the Holy Spirit is revealing something, it's because there's resources now and I'm ready to receive love there. That's still a training for me, because that is not my pattern. That wasn't my pattern of my lifetime. But I have to say a lot of things out loud. I have to say things like, and all of those statements I read now give me shock, because I am statements are really powerful.
Yeah.
They have a lot of potential. So when you say those things, like, you are actually making it, and your body is registering that. So like, now I'm trying to, even when I communicate authentically, I'm trying not to use those I am statements, except for things that are in the direction of, this is my new choice. I am teachable. I'm not failing. I am teachable. The fact that I'm experiencing this and feel like this is the fact that I'm growing. But I have to say those things out loud. You can ask my husband, you can ask my friends. I literally have to say it a lot, many days. Get me around a computer and you'd know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to say, Joy, just briefly, and I love everything that you share. And I am a big I am statement person because of beliefs. But there was a bunch of people watching, cheering you on and saying hello. I think there's Marie who said, Joy, and hugs to you. And I see Chris watching. And I put down about the I am too, right? Dot, 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 fill it in for people to be able to share. And Kaleem, it's nice to see Kaleem's on. He said that he loves how you define trauma and the existence and how God is a healing factor. See a little heart. So he really appreciated that. So thank you, Kaleem. And again, I loved what you said was about like even on those hardest days, even when you're like, okay, I like living, but what does that mean? There was a lot of survival because there was a lot of pain. And you said choosing to survive and not choosing to live. And a lot of times, many of us don't realize that's what's happening, especially because like we're in it so much. And then what does it mean to actually live? And I've had that question on my journey, like, what does it really mean to live, right? Because there was a time where God's like, I didn't bring you to the wilderness to die. That was like this last year when I was in like, yeah, I'm going into the new direction I'm going in. And I was like, what do you mean? What does it really mean then to live, right? And so I definitely can relate to that. I can relate to that journey of what does it really mean to live and asking God that even after so many years. And I'm like, what do you mean that I'm like moving back? And I also appreciated that you said you have value right where you are at. And I think that's important because so much, and I've actually been doing this a lot this week with coaching and with people, but that there's so much, and you talked about this in the beginning of external value and the achievements and like what does it mean to have our internal value? What does it mean to operate out of the inside? And what are we saying about ourselves? Like you said, the what I say with the I am statements matters. It changes our matter, which is interesting that the word matter is in there. And so I think that's powerful. And to even think, what are we thinking? Because sometimes we're so to undo it. I always say, Joy, I love whirlpools. I don't know why, but I do. I always love to make them. And I'm like, when we have wired our brain in a whirlpool to go the opposite way, it's like, oh, it's hard, right? It's hard to shift a whirlpool that's in motion. And that's sometimes our brain. So it's always a visual for me. And I think to undo it, it's brave. Like you've done a lot of work in undoing the whirlpool in one way. And a lot of us are still in the whirlpool going the other way with thoughts. And so I just wanted to note that I think that was really powerful that you shared that. And so I wanted to note that in the I ams, I could relate to all the statements you had when you said I'm too much or I'm not this or, all the things that we hear other people have said over us and breaking those cycles. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so I'm not sure if you're going to continue with the thoughts or if and you shared some tips, but I don't know if you wanted to continue in a direction that you were just in.
Sure, I can give a story, a
Yeah.
specific story, because I love stories. So I love hearing people's stories. So I'm a swimmer and I love the ocean. And at a period of my life, one of my potential traumas, I'll call it now, was that I lost my oldest sister, my mother, and then my second sister, all within the space of 4 years.
Wow.
When I was in, 6 years ago. So, and I was in a very deep state of grief, even though I had I was a woman acquainted with grief. It was like I didn't know you could live without it because it was like my best friend,
Mm-hmm.
not a nice best friend. Um, and so chose to we chose to go to the beach. That's a sacrifice for my husband, but I'm out in the ocean swimming, having a great time. And then I started to like try to get back. And I was a lifeguard. I'm a good swimmer. Um, and I realized that I couldn't get back to the shore because I was caught in a riptide. And I had a little basic of what to do, but for 45 minutes, I'm trying to like get out of this riptide. I tried to retrace the way I came out and feeling powerless. And like, because I had experienced death and grief, was still in such grief at the time, I was like, this is not funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, all so much of my life, I actually contemplated how I would take my life,
Mm-hmm.
and this could be it. I'm like, so, all these things go through your head when you're feeling powerless. And I'm like, okay, I knew as a lifeguard not to panic was the best thing, but I couldn't communicate to the shore either because they didn't know, they couldn't hear me. If I tried to come up, it pushed me out further. And eventually, my husband decided to come down and go in the water, which panicked me another way because I'm like, don't you dare, like, this is not fair.
Mm-hmm.
But like, he yelled to me and he's like, do you need help? Because then he could hear me. And I said, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so he called 911. Now, even 3 years before that, if I got stuck, and I have adventure stories where I've gotten stuck in situations that I could have died because of my adventurousness, um, I wouldn't have asked for help because I would have been so humiliated to like say, look at this idiot. What did she get herself into? But I had come to that understanding in the water that I wanted to live, and that if I didn't live, it was okay. I believe that like my purpose would have been fulfilled if I didn't live, and I was resigned to that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was something in me that said, I actually want to live.
Mm-hmm.
And within minutes, then I yelled to my husband and say, which direction? And he said the opposite direction that I had been trying, which was the opposite of how I came in. And within minutes, I started making progress because it was away from the sandbar. And and then he just kept yelling, you are making progress. You're getting closer. I can see it. You keep going, keep going. And he kept yelling and yelling and yelling. And I could also use like the clouds and the sun now because that direction. And I walked out as the rescue team walked on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the story of my life. That like, and now intentionally I'm trusting that love will come even though it doesn't show up in the form that I expect it. I want to have eyes to see and believe that love is here, and I'm allowed to have the dialogue in the moment and say, I don't see you.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you? Like, this is painful. I'm allowed to confess that to
Mm-hmm.
what I consider God, and keep that heart open because it's not threatening or intimidating and it's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But to keep that, like, I don't get it, but it's a treasure to Him.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel like love comes into us in the least expected ways, but it's ever present, and our eyes open up to see. And it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So you also asked me some heart healing things or tools that I use.
Yeah, I did. And I just before you go into that, because that will be what we're going in, is I thank you for your vulnerability first. And it was a powerful story, you sharing about when you were in the water and what went in your mind. And isn't it amazing that sometimes we're in that that is one of the things, is having that support or someone saying, keep going, you're making progress. And it was powerful when you said, yeah, I was on the shore and then they came, like the rescue team, and that's your life. That was a lot of your life. And I can relate to that. Yeah, I can relate to that. And, just that silent time of grief or pain when sometimes no one is there and we're navigating it. And also like your faith, that kept you in the hardest times, which I think, again, your story is powerful, Joy, because of it's your story and it impacts other people and a lot of what they're going through. So I just want to thank you. So yes, so this next part is looking at healing tools that you've used, if you have some that, again, there's different people have different strategies, but I love it because each person's different and someone or many that are watching may say, oh yeah, that's something I can use. And so I love to hear different things we each use to help us on the journey.
Sure. Well, because of my life experience, this is one of the benefits of having this over long term is I had to develop a lot of tools to keep going. So one I would call contemplative prayer. And my simplest or centering prayer, and my simplest explanation of that is this is what trying to own, like it's a hard fist like this is. And in this kind of prayer, what I'm doing is I'm opening my hands and releasing and just being a flower. So yes, a flower, a flower, like
I
that.
like
I don't hold it. I'm not going to hold tight. I don't own anything, but I'm
that.
taken care of, and I can trust that love does flow through me and for me in this moment. So during the day, sometimes when I feel myself getting tense, I'll just take my fist and open it. I won't even say anything, just to remind myself to let go, let
Mm,
go, let go. Because loss and death is an everyday experience.
mm,
And the more I get accustomed to that, the lesser the fear of it is.
yeah.
Uh, I have I have multiple buddies that I share a moment of daily wonder.
Mm,
So it can be something simple, like I have a niece who loves a certain kind of butterfly. So today I saw that cabbage moth, and that was my moment of wonder for today to share with her.
mm,
And she shared something her babysitting kids did. They built a tent, but just doing that, like wonder is a heart opener for
mm,
me. Breathing exercises, um, simply becoming aware of my breath, like even counting the inhale and the exhale helps me calm down and be present in the moment when I feel my body starting to ramp up,
mm,
like,
mhm.
ah, and when I feel everything in me wanting to shut down, because I had 1,000 ways of not being present in a room when I was actually there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm physically present, but nope, I'm guarded as all get out. So
Mm-hmm.
like just remembering, believing, trying to start saying, I am a gift. I am a
Mm,
gift. In whatever state I am, I'm a gift. I'm
mhm,
going to be present because I am a gift. Um, I regularly participate in something that I found actually for free um, with some great teachers called breath work.
yeah.
Um, I found that to be very helpful because I'm not looking for things, but things come up and it's in a safe environment. And to picture that for me, God is the breath. And
Mm,
it's just a way of opening up and allowing the breath to heal me. Just
mhm,
like I'm going to expose my heart, expose my heart, and I'm just going to let you blow wind on it. You know,
mhm,
your ruach wind, I'm going to let you blow it on. That's presence, becoming aware of presence.
yeah.
Be a child. I'm known for doing this.
Mm,
Um, I do bubbles. I do all kinds of ridiculous things, and people don't know that it's actually a very intentional strategy for me
mm,
um, to laugh at myself and to remember that I still am a child. So even though as a child I was a little adult a lot of times, It's never too late to be a child. You always have that child in you. So like, don't forget, not, don't, I don't want to forget to take care of that child and let that child be loved now.
Yeah.
Tapping is another thing that I have an app on my phone, actually. I'm amazed at the power of just acknowledging my body state, like saying what it is, and then tapping and like saying you're safe now. The
Yeah.
power of that. I try to avoid things that I know are fear inducers in high concentrations. For me, that's the news, but it doesn't mean I'm unaware. Um, and saying thank you.
Mm.
Even when I can't consciously say I know anything that I'm thankful for. I actually, in my prayer time, ask if that's being hypocritical. When I can't consciously say, I'm like, I don't have anything right now that I even know I'm thankful for, but I believe that it opens my heart. So I'll do that too. I'll just start like saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. I sing it. For me, creative expression is a big deal because for me, when I tense up, I stop like that. And I'm designed for flow. So it can be doodling, it can be humming, it can be walking or dancing or swimming or just something expressive helps me a lot. Even if I can't put my finger on this is what's going on, and I'm trying to stop analyzing why am I in this state and just be present and like not judge it, not be condemning or judging of it, just be present.
Those are great tips. And I actually had a couple of people say, I think Brittany was just saying she absolutely, oh, she loves the ridiculousness. She loves your childlike social media posts. It always brings so much delight to her day. And Brittany also said that these tips are gold from a woman with such a pure heart of God. And she's thankful for these tools during a difficult season. So thank you for your encouragement to her. And I just wrote down some of your really good tips that are helpful. And again, those of you watching, even if there's one, because you're just starting on the journey, or perhaps you're wherever you are, just finding what works for you. And Joy mentioned a lot, such as I love the flow, the flower, but flower. And when we're not in flow, then you're realizing what's going on, doing the breathing, being present and learning how to do that. And even doing this is releasing tension. So it's actually that grounding in a way of, okay, I need to just release it. And just the breath work that you said, and just the groups as well as the breathing, that God's breathing on your heart. I love that. I think that's, beautiful and truly what happens in our healing process. And it's vulnerable. And I think that is the healing journey is vulnerable. It's a lot of vulnerable. It's like I'm naked in front of the whole crowd, and that's exactly what it is. It's that healing part of being fully us, in all states. And I love that you said learning how not to judge how you're feeling or not always analyze. And sometimes we do analyze, but sometimes it gets so deep in us that it's hard to come up for air. And gratitude, I think those are huge. So again, like in the tapping thing, I think even for me, like I've done like the hugs, but think about a baby. I mean, a lot of times when we're having pain, it's like earlier on, thoughts or statements, and babies need that soothing. And I don't think we ever don't stop needing that rhythm or that rhythmic type. Even our brain goes left and right. It's constantly just having a rhythm, a dance, a melody. And so when we have that, it's just releasing our body to activate where it needs to. So I agree. I think that there's valid ways to help allow our body to heal. So thank you so much for those. Everybody really appreciated that. And so, Joy, for those of us as we're ending this, any words of encouragement to those who might be on the journey, those who are dealing with things that you mentioned, like the grief or not feeling like they're measuring up, or just going through really hard things like, okay, I'm just surviving, I'm not living, or I don't know, like, where's my hope? What would be your words to them?
So I'm living proof.
Hmm.
There is always hope. One of my favorite verses is about hope that doesn't disappoint us, because this is a conversation I've had a lot in my life because I've had a lot of disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Hope that doesn't disappoint it is it's because the love of God is continuously poured out in and through us.
Mm-hmm.
I just open up to let that be, and I'm not even going to judge it as to whether I'm doing it right or not. Healing happens in spite of me. Healing happens, and healing is available. Love's healing is available right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think about what the past was. Only now exists. So right here, right now, I can open up my heart and say, love, meet me where I'm at. I need your love.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's never too late
Mm-hmm.
or the trauma too great for me to experience the power and presence of true healing love. It's never too late to decide to be a trusting child and just say, I need you.
Mm-hmm.
I need you. Give me a hug right now. Show me, like, open my eyes to where you're at right now with me, because I can't handle it. But I know that you can, God, or love, or whatever. I know that I am held and I need to feel it right now. So tangibly hug me with your presence in the way that I need to know right now.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Yeah, so thank you. So those of you watching, thank you, Joy, for that. To really just know, you just, and I really like how you said about love meets me where I am at, and that you're living proof that there's always hope. And a lot of people really appreciated what you were sharing on this time. So we are now at the end of our interview with Joy, and I love it because Joy, your name is Joy. You can carry joy, but also navigate grief and navigate a range of emotions, and that actually, as we go through the healing journey, there can becomes more joy, but there's deep pain, or there's deep healing journeys actually allow us to, but there is a journey with it. And so I just thank you for all of it, because when I was talking to you earlier, I was like, joy, like joy, like I'm just being fully joy. And what I really meant, which you probably picked up on, was just a play on words of, yeah, like fully you. The joy and the pain and everything else that comes up, and like learning how to navigate it. And that's the beauty that many people can relate to you. So thank you so much for your time. And those of you watching, if you have any more comments or questions for Joy, please write them in the comments and I'll get them to her. And thank you, Joy, again, for those who are watching, and that you touch their hearts and mine. So for those of you who are listening in, this is Traumaplicity Talk Show. Happens every Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. And it's every person coming on with a story that matters, that is sharing how they overcame or they're on the journey, and to encourage you. So thank you all. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you, Amanda.
Welcome.
Have a great night.